Alright, testing. Alright, the air compressor test covers the disassembly, cleaning, inspection, repair, and assembling the test toolkit SG494973L E12 mechanical particle test, feeler gauge, micrometer, honing drill, dial, indicator, torque wrench, orifice holder, dry cleaning solvent, lubricating oil, grease, equipment condition, and air compressor removed. Warning: dry cleaning solvent with PD6A with toxic flammable with wear protective goggles and gloves. Use only with well ventilated air. Avoid contact with the skin and eye of the clothing. Do not breathe vapors. Do not use near open flame with excessive heat. Use a flash point. That flash point is between 100 and 138 degrees Fahrenheit. Become dizzy if you get fresh air. Medical aid immediately. If contact with the eyes is made, wash your eyes and get medical aid immediately. Compressed air used for the cleaning purpose will not exceed 30 psi. Do not use the compressed air against skin. Use goggles or full face shield. Note: through cleaning exterior to prevent dirt from the exterior entering internal parts. With removing the repairing brake valve of the component, check for the airline piping for the corrosion, brake for the split, loose connection, repair all the lines of the piping, consist of the replacing the defective pipeline for the connection for detecting manual 55, 22, 10, 22, 3, 24 P identification pipe to dry cleaning itself. Remove the dirt from the exterior of the air compressor for the dry compressed air. Remove the 12 cap screw with the lock washer 2 with remove the fan guard 3 with remove the discharge elbow 4 extension 5 with remove the cotter pan 6 7 the cooling fan 8. Remove the 8 bolts 9 with the lock washer 10 air baffle 11 remove the 4 lock and the lock nuts 12 with the discharge flange 13 gasket flange 14. And then we'll back out of this. So this is your air compressor. Or remove 8 bolts, 8 nuts 15, remove the 2 bolts with the 16 with the lock washer 17, 2 space with the 18, remove the 19 through 20, 32. Um, uh, Remove 12 bolts 20 with the lock washer 21 with the outer core 22 with the remove the 16 bolt with 23 with the nuts 24 with the lock washer 25 with the open top flange assembly 26 with the gasket 27. Remove the 16 bolts with the 28 with the nuts 29 with the lock washer 30 with the bottom flange assembly 31 gasket 32 with the tube with assembly 19. Remove the gasket flange 33 with the spacer 34 with the gasket 35. Remove the gasket flange with the 36 space with the spacer 37 with the gasket flange 38. Remove the EI safety valve 39. Remove the cotter pin 40 with the and nut 41. Coupling flange assembly 42. Remove the 4 arm nuts and pacers 43 nuts 43. Spacers 44 and bolts 45 with a separate flanging, 46 with the pulley, 47 with the remove the 2 bolts, 48 with the intake strainer, 49 rubber gasket, 50 with the intake tube, 51 gasket flange, 52, remove the crankcase breather, 53 oil pressure gauge, 54 dipstick, 55 filler plug, 56 remove the 2 cap screws, 57 oil pressuring tube, 58. Remove the 26 cap screws, 59. Remove the 2 side cover, the 60 with the gasket, 61. Remove the unloader tube, 62 and 63. Remove the unloader piping fitting, 64 and 65 and 66. And remove the 3 cap nuts, 67. Remove the 3 brass spacers, unloader valve plugs, inlet valves, 71. Alright, remove the 3 unloader cap nuts, the 3 valve plug for the discharge valve 74. Use the punch low pressure cylinder head to 75. The cylinder 83. Remove the 6 on 76 low pressure cylinder head and gasket 77. Use punch mark out high pressure cylinder head 78 with the cylinder 86. Remove 6 on 79 high pressure cylinder head gasket and gasket 80. Remove the 6 nuts low pressure 82 with the gasket 83. Remove the 6 nuts 84 high pressure cylinder 85 gasket 86. So, it says your low and high pressure cylinders right here. Alright, remove the 4 cotter pins 87 with the castle nuts 88 with the 2 connecting rods 89. Remove the piston assembly 90 91. Remove the 2 upper bearings, lower bearings, upper bearing 92, lower bearings 93. Remove the 4 piston rings 94 and 95. Alright, remove the 4 piston pin snap rings 96 with the 2 piston pins 7 and 9 with the 2 connection rod 98 with the 4 pins 99. Remove the 4 cotter pins 100, nuts 101, bolts 102, cap 103. Remove the oil pump plunger 104 with the pump housing 105. Remove the cap screw 106, washer 107, strainer body 108, retainer ring 109, strainer screen 110. Removal key 111. Remove 11 nuts, 112, the main bearing housing 113, gasket 114. Warning: components of the locomotive are heavy and may be awkward to handle. Use the correct lifting procedure to indicate lifting device and warn assistance with other personnel to avoid injury. Be careful with the damaged crankcase during removal. Use suitable lifting devices. Slowly remove the crankcase from the Crankshaft from 115 from the crankcase 116. Move the main ball bearing 117, 118. Oil seals 119, 120. Cleaning, inspection, and repair. Warning: dry clean some of the PD6A with a toxic flammable wear protective gloves and goggles, and use only with a well-ventilated area. Avoid contact skin with the clothes with the do not breathe vapor. Do not use near open flame. And excessive heat, flash point 100 to 138 degrees Fahrenheit. Become with the dizzy with the get fresh air. Medical aid immediately. Contact with the eyes made with the wash for the get medical aid made with the compressed air. Use with the cleaning purpose with the not exceed 30 psi with the not use the compressed air against the skin. Um, Against the skin. Use goggles or full face shields. Dry clean shovel to remove the dirt grease from the cylinder head with the side, with the cover of the discharge, with the elbow piston pin discharge. Discharge elbow pistons and discharge flame with the dry compressed air with the magnet flux cylinder head with the side with the cover with the discharge elbow with the piston pins with the discharge flange with the check with the there's no crack with the blade with the damaged part. Clean inspect repair with the crankshaft 115 with the foam with the dry clean solve with the remove with the grease and dirt with the oil with the crankshaft 115. Check with the passage with the free with the obstruction dry compressed air. Magnet flush crankshaft with the check with the following no crankshaft no cracks. Check with the crankshaft with it's not broken or bent. No, check with the seal with the surface with the not groove with the bearing seal. These are worn oil reel relays to valve seat but it's not scored. Inspect with the end of the crankshaft 115. Check with there's no damage surface with the threads with the keyway with the micrometer with the measuring crankshaft with the journal diameter. Revert to table 4-1 with the dimensions. Cleaning inspection repair with the view with the gauge measure radial clearance between the oil pump plunger 104 with the collar with the crankshaft with the eccentric. Revert to table 4-1 dimension. The note with the maximum runout of the 1,000 inch must be checked with the drop level of the maintenance facility. Place damaged crankshaft 115. Check clean. Inspect the repair of cylinders 82 and 85 by the following. Use dry clean soap to remove the dirt and grease. Oil from the cylinder 74 and 78 with the dry compressed air with the ring travel surface. Should not be scored or should not have ridge with the honing drill with the honing cylinder walls is bright and smooth and finishing. Cylinder flange with the machine with the chain with the cylinder length with the shortened beyond with the minimum limit determined the installed piston with the two lead dead center piston with an inch of the piston with the flush with the low of the top of the face of the cylinder. Use the dial indicator true both ends of the bore over the flange face with the inspect perpendicularity with the low pressure cylinder over the 82 with the high pressure cylinder 85 with the flange face. Maximum variance of 2,000 with an inch variance with exceed with the maximum machine cylinder flanges. Use filler gauge measure cylinder piston pressure with the refer to 4.2 with the cylinder dimension. If cylinder piston clearance is not within limit to replace with the piston with a new standard size piston. Recheck cylinders to pistons clearance not limited to replace cylinders with a new standard size cylinder. Place damage to low pressure cylinder 82 with a high pressure cylinder 85. Clean inspect repair pistons 90 and 91 by the following and use the dry cleaning solve with the remove the dirt and grease with the dry compressed air with the magnaflux 90 and 91. Check for the no cracks, no, but check for the piston ring groove with the square with the do not have ridges. Use the feeler gauge measure clearance between ring side with the groove with the clearance of the 2,000 and 4,000 of the inch and with the micrometer with the measure of the skirts of the piston 90 and 91. Refer to table 4 with the diameter limits of the exhaustion. Do not use stone or hammer craft to remove the minor scuff of the marks of the scratches from the piston. Damage to the piston will result. Use a remove the minor scuff marks and scratches from piston 90-91. Remove the damaged piston 90-91. Clean inspection, repair, cleaning connection rod with the 98 with the following. Dry clean, some of the remove the dirt and groove with the oil connection rod. Check if the oil passages are free of obstruction. Dry compressed air with the magnaflux connecting rod. Check if there are no cracks. Inspect the bolts and nuts. Check if the threads are not damaged. And check if the bolts with the relay with the tube, the nuts and fitting connection rod. 98 with the crankshaft. Fitting connection rod crankshaft drone with the following with the ply film light with the crankshaft with the 115 with the drone. Inspect with the connection rod 820. 98 torque bolt 125 plus or minus 25 pounds a foot. Torque, check if the castle nut is lined up with the meter, meet the cotter pin in the hole of the bolt. Alright, use feel the gauge between the connection rod cap with the 98 with the drone crankshaft with the 115. Check with the measurement with the 1 to 12, 10 thousandths of an inch. Maximum clearance through the connection rod of 1 inch for the piston pin with the check with the connection rod turn freely. Check the maximum clearance, same manner with the step 3 with above with the clearance between with the connection rod with the cap to 93 with the crankshaft journal 115. Must be 3,000 of an inch maximum connection of the rod 1 inch within the piston pipe with the connection rod. Turns tightly using feel gauge to measure side clearance with the connection rod 98C clearance with the 2,000 of an inch. Minimum 31,000 of the inch. Condemnable. Remove the connection rod 98. Bearings 93. End caps 989. Crankshaft 115. Alright, replace damaged connection rod 98. Clean, inspect, and prepare with the oil pump plunger. 104, the dry clean silver, remove the dirt with the oil strain screen with the dry compressor with the check with the oil strain screen. 110 with the fray with the damage, replay with the damaged screen. Use feeler gauge measure for the radial clearance between the oil pump, plunger, collar, and crankshaft with an inch-centric journal. Clearance limited with 3,000 inch minimum, 5,000 inch. Condemnable is clearance with the limits exceed with the play for the oil pump plunger. Shift the ball and ball seat out of the oil with the plunger, 104 with the knot 1 with the damage of the fouling. Use a micrometer measure for the end of the oil pump plunger, 104 with the bottom of the ball, with where the limits are 271 thousandths to 225 thousandths of an inch, and where limits exceed with the replace with the plunger inside. If the ball inside the oil pump with the 105 is damaged, replace with the stainless steel ball, new stainless steel ball. Alright, use the feeler gauge for the measuring clearance between the oil pump and plunger 104 with the oil pump housing 105 with the clearance limit of 2,000 of an inch minimum, 6,000 of an inch condemnable. Play with the damage of the oil pump plunger for the pumping hub with the check with the crankcase journal with the supporting the oil pump housing 105 with the knot crack with the broken. Play with the damage part with the magnaflop crankcase with the check with the crankcase with the knot broken or cracked, and replace with the damaged crankcase with the dial indicator measuring the bearing of the main boring hole 113. Maximal allowable wear with the eccentricity of the 2,000 inch. Replace with the damaged main bearing housing. Cleaning, inspection, repair, intercooler. 119, the following. Give the dry cleaning solve with the remove of the dirt loose panning with the intercooler. 19, dry compressor area. Give the ductile bills, pliers, and straighten bend pins. Clean, inspect, repair with the intake strain 48 with 49 with the following. Dry cleaning solve with the remove of the dirt. Oil strain for the intake strain 49. Dry compressor area. Apply with the coat for the oil intake strain 49. Raise damaged oil line with tighten fittings with the replace with the metallic filler, metal, and crankcase breather. 53. Replace seal rings and bearings and gaskets. Refer to table 4.1 for the air compressor data. Measure parts, check parts for the design C. Condemn and limit the replace the damaged parts. And it shows table of 4.1 your data. Alright, assembly. Warning: heated parts may cause the injury to the personal hand protection is not worn when if hand protection is not worn. Wear protective with the gloves and maximum protection. Install with the main ball bearing 118 induction heater. Heat to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove the main ball bearing 118 with the induction heater. Install with the crankshaft 115. Warning: components of the locomotive and heavy that may be awkward to handle. Use the correct lifting procedure with an indicated lifting device assistant with the other personnel to avoid injury. Use suitable lifting device. Slowly lower crankcase shaft 115 with crankcase 116. Check with the main ball bearing 118 with the film firmly seated. Install the main bearing 117 with the induction heat with the heat of the 250 feet. 250 degrees Fahrenheit with the remove of the main ball bearing 117 with the induction heater with the install of the crankcase 115 coat gasket 114 with the grease for the install of the main bearing housing 113 install of the main bearing housing 113 with the nuts 112. Tighten the nuts evenly, pull the main bearing housing in place. Turn crankshaft with the 115. Check with the main ball bearings 118 117. Turn freely with the crankshaft with the nut turn. Freely use hammer with the highly tamping main bearing housing 113 here. Oil seal beer. Border leaf tension. No oil seals period soaked and wrapped in airtight paper when received with the manufacturer. However, the oil seal had been stored the pearl length with time when the dry and should be re-soaked in oil and period with 12 hours before installation. 67 install oil seals 120-119. Unseal oil strainer screen 110 with the oil strainer body 18 with the secure with the retaining ring 19. Install oil pump housing 105 with the crankcase 116. Install assemble the oil strainer body 108. Secure with the cap screw 106. Install oil pump plunger 104 with the oil pump housing 105. Round crankcase shaft 115. Install with the cap 103 with the crankcase shaft 115. Secure with the 4 bolts 101, nut 102, cotter pin 100. Refer to the table D1 with the torque values. Install key 111, install the two upper bearings 92 with the connection rod 98. Install the bearing pistons 90-91 connection rod 98. Install piston pins 97 with the connection rod 98 and the pistons 90-91. Secure with the two 4 snap rings 96. Install 4 piston rings up 94 with the piston 90 with the 4 piston rings 95 piston 91. Alright, note, check for the punch marks when are aligned with the install with the head and cylinders. Install with the gasket 86 with the high pressure cylinder, 85 with the expanded nuts, 84 with the tighten secure with the nuts evenly with the pull high pressure with the cylinder in place. Install gasket 83 with the low pressure cylinder with the 82 with the expanded nuts, 81. Turn nuts evenly with the pull the low pressure cylinder in place. Use the lubricating oil lubricating crankshaft to turn on the throw. Cylinder walls connection with the rod bearings and piston ring with the piston pin with the stagger. Piston ring gap with the install with the piston 91 high pressure cylinder 85 snapper piston ring gap. Install piston 90 lower pressure cylinder 82. Install 2 upper bearings 92 with the lower bearings 93. Install 4 bolts 99, 2 connection rods 89 with the 4 castle nuts 88 with the Titan cut. That was 125, 50 pounds, plus or minus 50 pounds of torque. A-line castle nuts, holes and bolts secured with the 4 cotter pins 87. Refer to table 4-1, check with the ring gap and cylinder piston clearance. Alright, install gasket 8 with a high pressure cylinder, 78 with the install with a high pressure cylinder, secure with a 69 with the install with a 79, tighten nuts evenly with a high pressure cylinder with a head in place. Refer to the table D1 with the torque specification, install with a gasket with a low pressure cylinder with a 75, install low pressure cylinder head with the secure with the nuts, 76 with the tighten nuts evenly with a low pressure cylinder head in place. Refer to the table D1 with the torquing specification, install with the 3 discharge valve with a 74 valve spring 73, unloader cap nut 72. Install 3 inlet valve 71, unloader valve 7, plug 70 with the unloaders 69, high pressure spacer 68 with the unloaders cap nuts for the 67, the unloader piping valves 64, 65, 66, install unloader tube 62, 63, install oil pressure tubing in 58 with a screw with the 2 cap screws 57, install with the pulley 47 with the flange 46, screw with the 4 bolts with the 45 for spacer 44, 43, nuts 43. And coupling flange of the assembly 42 with the 41 with the cotter pin with the 40 with the install with the E-safety valve with the 39. Install gasket flange 38 with the spacer 37 and the gasket flange 36. Install gasket flange 35, spacer 34, gasket flange 33, and 2 gaskets on the 2 side covers 61 and 60. Secure with the 2 26 bolts 59. From leak test, check if the intercooler does not leak with the replay with the damaged intercooler. Inspect the bottom flange of assembly. 31 gasket 32 with the N16 lock washer 30 nuts 29 bolts 28. Install the top flange assembly with the 26 27 with the 116 lock washer 25 nuts 25 4 and bolts 23. Install 12 lock washers 21 bolts 20 outer core assembly 22. Or install 19 through 32 with the screw with the lock washer 17 with the bolt 16 with the 2 spacers 18 with the 8 nuts 15. Install with the dipstick 55 with the oil pressure, give it 54 with the crankcase brief with the 53, install with the gasket flange with the 52 with the intake with the tube 51 rubber gasket 50, intake strainer 49, screw with the 2 bolts for the gasket 48, install with the gasket 14, disc chain flange 13 with the 4 lock nuts 12, install with the air baffle 11, the cooling fan 8 and 7, cotter pan 6 with the cure with the 8 lock washers 9 and bolts 9, install the extension with the 5 with the discharge elbow 4, install fan grade guard 3 with the screw with the 12 lock washers, 2 cap screws, 2 lock screw washers, 1 cap and cap screws. For the paragraph 3-4 with the install of the A-line air compressor fill the crankcase oil with the install of the filler plug 49. Test. Caution. When performing orifice test, check that the oil pressure with a never less than 15 psi. Damage air compressor with the result of the forming orifice test. The following can enable the orifice holder with 17/64 of an inch of the orifice air reserve of the drain cock. Use the orifice square with the edge of the board through with the 1/16 of an inch thick. Start the engine run until the normal operating temperature. Close the outlet valve with the reservoir with the open drain cock. Leave the drain cock open for a lull of the test. Run the air compressor at least 2 minutes at low speed. Pressure reading of the record air compressor speed. RPMs and corresponding pressure. Run the air compressor lasts at least 2 minutes with a high speed, taking pressure reading, recording the air compressor speed, RPM, and its corresponding pressure. Run the air compressor with a 15-minute drain cock open. Repeat steps D and E using table 4-3. Pair speed readings. Alright, test continued. Apply air pressure for the E1 safety valve with the 39 intercooler, throw 19 with check with the intercooler safety valve open 60 psi. Place damage intercooler safety valve with the air. Apply the air under unloaded valves 69 and 74. Check unloaded valve with 130 psi. Close it with the 140 psi. Unload valve do not open the close. Specified psi. Refer to paragraph 345 with adjust for the air compressor governor. Apply air pressure for the main reservoir safety valve with the check for the main reservoir safety valve opening 150 psi with the adjust the main reservoir safety valve by turning regulating nut with the replay for the damaged main reservoir safety valve. Alright, inspect the test compressed by the following with a check with the oil has not escaped with the crankcase breathe with the dipstick open, but the oil has spilled out. Replace with the oil seal and crankcase breathe. Remove the valve assembly. Check whether they are not broken springs or cut and broken valves. Run through the no scoring. Piston cylinder rings and piston pins and connection rods, bearings. There's replaced with the orifice test must be repeated. Remove cylinder heads, inspection cylinder walls. Check whether there is no scoring. And that was the 4.8 air compressor out of the TM552210 23 or sorry 22 3 24